Hey guys, what's happening? Eric here, Mr. Fired Up Wealth. And I just had a subscriber ask a really good question. I wasn't planning on doing a video today, but I got this question and I immediately went into the lab. It's something I have a good background in. I obviously sell cloud services. And this is something I've been meaning to address for a while. I have lots of different videos that talk about cloud and the different components of cloud. A lot of people, when they hear cloud, they just think of Amazon Web Services and Azure, but there are so many companies that go into that puzzle. And one of the pieces of the puzzle is identity and access management. Now, when I used to work at Oracle way back 10 years ago, when I actually was employed for Oracle, I now work for Partner. We used to sell an IAM tool. So IAM is identity and access management. You can see on your screen. And I want to break down the identity and access management industry in terms of the competitors in that space and focus specifically on two names that we'll get to in a second. So first of all, let's just real quick, what is identity and access management? In enterprise IT, it is about defining and managing the roles and access privileges of individual network users and the circumstances in which users are granted or denied those privileges. Those users might be customers, like customer identity management, you might have heard of that, or employees, employee identity management. The core objective of IAM systems is one digital identity per individual. Once that digital identity has been established, it must be maintained, modified, and monitored throughout each user's access lifecycle. So the overreaching goal of identity management is to grant access to the right enterprise assets, to the right users in the right context, from a user's system onboarding to permission authorizations to offboarding. Okay. So when you think of even work from home now, more people working from home, these IAM systems are going to help businesses make sure that the people logging into their data are supposed to be logging into their data. So this is even more critical than ever. It's always been an important part of security, but now even more so than ever when you have people logging in remotely from home, and that trend's probably going to be with us for a while. So real quick, IAM service components. You've got authentication services. So you've heard of single sign-on maybe at a job. You've got the multi-factor authentication. And then there's session and token management. There's different ways to manage with VPNs and things like that. Authorization services, which are roles, rules, attributes, privilege access. You've got user management services for provisioning and self-service, directory services like an identity store or virtual directory. So I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on that, but I want to provide some background. I know some of you really like the in-depth background. This is an article from Forbes, and this is only March 12th, so it's a couple weeks old. And this is going to talk about the two companies that I want to focus on today, and that's Okta and Ping Identity. Now, the question from the subscriber was, could you do a video on Ping Identity? It's one that I had in my top 20 stock picks for 2020 under the spec bucket. So if you're familiar with that video, there's a top 20 for 2020, which I did back in December before the coronavirus. And, so there's some stocks in there that have, not performed well, obviously, because of the Black Swan event. But at the end of that video, I did 10 potential bagger picks, basically high risk, high reward, speculative type stocks. And one was Ping Identity. I believe Okta might even been on that if I recall. So I own Okta. I don't own Ping Identity. Let's break down and see which stock is better of the two. So before I get into that, companies spend about $25 billion for systems that ease access to their applications by authorized employees while blocking the rest. That's very straightforward. You're talking about $25 billion market, right? So Okta was founded in 2009, and it provides cloud software that helps companies manage and secure user authentication into applications. That's really important. So when you think of SaaS, software as a service, Okta provides cloud software that helps manage that within SaaS implementations and organizations. The fourth quarter of 2019, They actually did all right. I remember the stock actually went down just because, when you have high expectations of these growth companies, one little thing on guidance and, the stock can be down 15, 20%. That's how these high flyers work. But the revenue rose 45% to $167.3 million. That was about $11 million above expectations. They forecasted a bigger loss than expected for the first quarter, but higher revenue, which is part of the reason why the stock went down. Here's a typo. It should be Odka, and they have odd key. Even Forbes makes mistakes. Sees a loss of 23 to 24 cents, about 10 cents more than analysts forecast. They expect 172 million in revenue, about 5 million above analysts' expectations. So back in 2017, Okta went public, and at that point, they thought the total addressable market of the TAM was about $18 billion. But now, obviously, it sees a much larger opportunity. I wanted to point this out. So Okta is clearly growing much faster than the workplace identity management industry, taking market share from various rivals such as CA Technologies, which is now part of Broadcom. That ticker's AVGO. I own some of that. I bought Broadcom because of the acquisition. They have a nice yield. It's a good company. In fact, every company I'm going to talk about, I actually own shares of. The thing about it is there's enough market share for all these companies to do well long term. Plus, it hedges because you don't know which one might rise, to the top. So, Oracle, another another stock that I own. Obviously, I used to work for Oracle, and I do a lot of Oracle work now. Basically, I do Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, lift and shift PeopleSoft on prem into basically infrastructure as a service instead of software as a service. They also beat Microsoft. So Azure is obviously important, but they actually partner with Microsoft for Azure. Microsoft also has their own identity management solutions that compete against Okta. But, according to this article, they beat Microsoft because they let customers use best of breed. And that's what you'll see in cloud a lot of times is you're going to see best of breed. So people are going to use one company for this, one company for that, and they're going to put a puzzle together to get the best of breed. And there's lots of little parts that go into a cloud infrastructure of a large organization. So there's lots of opportunity for business. And all these companies, even though they compete with certain lines of business, almost all of them also partner together as well, which is something a lot of people don't realize. But it's a big, complex puzzle. And there's a lot of money to be made, and they all work together, even though a lot of them compete in individual sectors. It also says Microsoft, which wants its customers to buy its other products like Azure, Skype, and OneDrive, Okta wins because unlike the legacy products, it's built for the cloud and lets its customers pick the best of breed, as we said earlier. So again, Okta is built for the cloud and is best of breed, okay? That's the key takeaway. There's a lot more information on here, but talking about Accenture, PwC, and Deloitte bring direct sales. So they partner with all these. Okta's first customers were small and medium businesses. You'll hear SMB, and they now are more focused on the larger clients. So they started with the SMB, but now have 1,467 customers with revenue over 100,000. We consider this to be large enterprise, 41% more than a year ago. Out of total customer base of 8,000. So they're doing, $100,000 deals. They're not doing, $10 million deals like AWS. It's a different size company. It's a different segment, different target. Okta sells 19% more each year on average to existing customers. They added 550 customers in the fourth quarter and intend to follow and land. We only get 16% of revenue overseas, and aim to increase that by growing in Europe and Asia Pacific. So there's a lot of opportunity for Okta. Let's talk about Ping next. So they had 2 good quarters since going public. They just went public in September of 2019. Ping estimates that its market opportunity exceeds $25 billion across use cases. Seems aggressive to me, but our customers include Intuit, Chevron, Netflix, eBay. They represent over 50% of the Fortune 100, 12 of the 12 largest banks, 8 of the 10 largest biopharmaceutical companies, 4 of the 5 largest healthcare plans, and 5 of the 7 largest U.S. retailers, according to March 5 interview with the CEO, Andre Durand. Now, it'll make more sense when we explain why they deal with some of these companies. the reason that they're doing a lot of business with companies like this is because a lot of them do on-prem still. So on-premise, meaning that they're not completely cloud-based IT infrastructures in their business. So the idea for Ping is 19 years old. I thought this was interesting. Just real quick, I started Ping in 2001 while on a sabbatical after Jabber. That was an enterprise messaging service that he started that Cisco acquired in 2008. So he was one of those individuals that was 30 and very rich. And he was married and sailing around the world with a friend, because every 30-year-old, does that, right? I was blogging my observations during the voyage and had an aha moment. I can't do this if I don't know who I'm talking to on the other end. Okay. I need to build identity into the internet, he explained. He wasn't in a big hurry. He started working on something, small. They were actually private for a long time. So for 10 years, that's what we did instead of requiring a different password. But they were a private company for 14 years. So Ping spent a long time as a private company. 14 years, we kept growing thanks to great venture capitalists. Received 3 acquisition attempts, basically turned them down, and then they went public and did an IPO back in 2019. So Okta is shifting towards enterprise prospects as Microsoft becomes more competitive in the SMB. What differentiates us is that Ping Identity is always focused on the enterprise from day one, and our architecture and solutions have been optimized for complex hybrid enterprises. Cloud doesn't equal software as a service in the enterprise. So this is actually a really good point, because not most of the really large complex enterprises, they don't just flip a switch from on-prem and go to cloud. Hey, we're just going to, cancel everything that we have, all of our servers, all of our legacy software, and we're just going to flip the switch and turn everything. And you're talking about, all their ERP systems. So HCM, that's the human capital management, FSCM, the financials and supply chain management. You've got things like campus solutions at universities. You get the technical side. You've got, all the different buckets within there, from payroll to all these different various groups, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all these different groups in these large complex organizations. You don't just flip a switch and go to 100% cloud. It's a slow process. And so these complex organizations have complex hybrid enterprises, meaning that part of their system might be on the cloud, part of it might be on-prem. It's kind of a mixed bag. And so what this is saying is that Ping Identity is going to be stronger for those type of clients, where Okta is going to be stronger when it's just a pure software as a service type of a cloud play. So while many enterprises consume Ping solutions as SaaS, many choose to deploy Ping in their cloud under their control and with a level of customization that is simply not attainable with a SaaS-only solution. Okay, so he's taking a stab at Okta and some others. I'm going to show you some others. There's several companies that do this type of work. For many of our financial services and healthcare customers, the deployment flexibility we offer isn't just nice to have, it's a requirement for their business. When you think of healthcare, you've got things like HIPAA rules. There's lots of different security and government requirements on what they do with their data. It makes it more complex than just an average business that isn't dealing with that data. And same with financial institutions. They have their own rules and regulations, governance, risk, and compliance. It's called GRC. There's whole software solutions that deal with that. This is where they kind of thrive in these industries, because anything that's highly customized, Ping is basically saying that they feel like they're the leader. Investors, however, seem to prefer Okta over Ping. Since last September's IPO, Ping stock is down 8%, while Okta's has risen 8%. Although both of those are completely irrelevant, because both of them have been destroyed in the last couple weeks with the market crash. So I want to show you Ping Identity's website really fast, and then I'll show you Okta, and then I'm going to do a breakdown of some other companies that you can look at in this space, as well as a more descriptive definition of what each of these companies are good at. So Ping Identity, we kind of have an idea, but they do the customer identity, the customer 360. They've got the unified customer profile, the privacy and consent management, the Ping ID. Battery went dead on that light. So cloud ready for infrastructure. They got Ping Federate, Ping Access, Ping Directory, on and on and on. You can see some of the the clients that they work with. So Walgreens, Progressive Insurance, Accenture, Applied Materials. I own a lot of these stocks: Cisco, Chevron, Allegiant Airlines, eHealth, and so on. So this is the Ping intelligent identity platform. You got single sign-on, you got multi-factor authentication, you got data governance. We talked earlier about governance, risk, and compliance. Secure directory, intelligent API security, detect and block API cyber attacks using artificial intelligence. We like to hear that. Enable dynamic real-time access security for apps and other APIs. So that's Ping Identity. Okta, I kind of like the website here. You know, we help companies do two things: workforce identity and customer identity. So workforce identity, you got your single sign-on, you got your access gateways. The customer identity, we talked about this in the beginning. You got the authentication, you got the lifecycle management, the adaptive MFAs, things like that. So you can dig into both of those if you're interested. There's a lot of information. Obviously, they've got all these different solutions. Okta is it's quite a bit larger, and they have more options, to be honest. So let's look at, this is I don't know if you're familiar with, there's like Gartner Magic Quadrants, and there's Forrester Research does Magic Quadrants. But basically what this is, here's a 2019 Magic Quadrant, and it's showing Okta way up here, Microsoft here. This is top access management solutions leaders in 2019. Okta is way off the chart. Microsoft does a good job. Ping Identity. So Ping Identity is still a great company, guys. They're saying it's better than IBM. It's better than Oracle. It's better than, One Login. There's Micro Focus. There's Optimal IDM. Broadcom CA Technologies is way down here, so that's not good if you're a Broadcom fan. They're kind of lagging in that area. And this is a Gartner August 2019 Magic Quadrant. And here's kind of breaks down. Here's the leaders. So Okta, Adaptive, Microsoft again, Ping Identities here. Now you got Google. So this is dealing with the IDaaS and the SaaS solution. So Okta is kind of a leader there. Microsoft is a strong performer. Google, we said IBM, it goes all the way down to OpenText and so on. So you can see that Ping Identity is still a strong performer, but you can also see that Okta is a clear leader in both of these quadrants. I mean, it's way off the chart. So if you're trying to pick a stock that's focused on, IAM, it's clear when you're looking at this that Okta is the leader right now. But let's dig in a little further and see if maybe there's opportunity, for Ping Identity to catch up and maybe their stock to outperform. So here's a Gartner Peer Insights. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is something that we do in kind of the technology space often when we're comparing vendors in the IT space. Here's Okta, here's Ping Identity. Willingness to recommend, 92% for Okta, 91% for Ping. They're very strong. If you look across the board, you've got 4.6. However, it's 181 reviews, and this is 4.5 with 22 reviews. So way less reviews on Ping Identity. It kind of proves that Okta is a much larger company. But you can see all the way down the line, it's pretty much neck and neck on all these different things. So it talks about auditing, ease of deployment, user authentication, the single sign-on, which surprisingly, Okta is actually a little higher on that rating. And this is just a small sample size, but I think it's fun to look at. Quality of technical support, it looks like Ping Identity is 4.8 versus 4.4. Service and support. So it looks like, Ping Identity maybe might have a little bit better customer and technical support. So depending on the business, that might be, a better choice. This is from PC Magazine, and they actually did a review of all the different IAM softwares. This is Okta. The pros that they like is that it supports mobile device management, or MDM, and geographic zones, which makes it a solid offering. Reporting functionality is much improved, especially on geographic functionality. This is something that Ping Identity lacks in. Ability to manage the flow of identity, attribute information between multiple identity providers is among the best in the category. The cons for Okta: consumer identity management as a service features are still in early access. Authentication to on-premise application requires expensive hardware. This is where Ping is going to have a leg up, is when you're talking about on-prem. On-prem means you have your own servers, your own data center, basically at your company. So, if you go into the company you work for might have an IT department, it might have its own room that has servers and things in it. Depending on the size of the company, it might be offsite even, but it's managed by the company. The employees of the company do the PUMs, the upgrade managers. They do all the updates to the technical software. All that stuff is done by a team. There's a team of DBAs. There's a team of technical professionals that basically manage your software systems. On-prem, meaning at your location, you control the data at your site, your physical location. When you start talking about cloud, there's different forms of cloud, but like software as a service would be like Salesforce CRM. You literally, same as using a Gmail account. You log in and you have access to your data. You consume it. You don't see the servers. You don't see it. It's all in the cloud. Cloud just meaning in a data center somewhere else that you don't control, and you're paying someone else to manage all the ins and outs and make sure that it's working properly. You're just consuming the information. So with Okta, for any kind of on-premise apps, it requires expensive hardware to basically help manage that. Ping Identity only got a 3-star rating from PC Mag. This is from the same reviewer. The pros is that setup is relatively easy regardless of the connector type used. The app catalog is comprehensive for SSO or single sign-on purposes. Making app assignments to groups takes minutes at most. The cons is that SaaS provisioning support doesn't even extend to Microsoft 365. So now, again, SaaS, if you're looking for SaaS, software as a service, Okta is the clear leader. If you're looking for on-prem, Ping Identity is going to have an edge. There's also limited reporting capabilities with Ping, which is bad, but it's also, back to what I was talking about earlier, best of breed. You could use something like a Splunk to integrate with a Ping Identity and use Splunk for reporting. So that's why there's a lot of players in the cloud space, and they all kind of work together to make this big, massive puzzle and make it all work. Last thing I want to cover here. So this is Jump Cloud, and they're saying Okta versus Ping Identity. Although both of these now public companies compete heavily in the enterprise web application SSO space, they have segmented their focus over time. It seems as though Ping Identity continues to be successful with large enterprises that require an on-prem SSO solution, while Okta has been successful with those large enterprises that are keen to leverage SSO from the cloud. All right. So for those looking to move away from legacy on-prem solutions, Okta may be the better fit. In contrast, Ping Identity grants admins the option to pick how they wish to leverage their SSO solutions, which may be ideal for organizations currently seeking to maintain their on-prem infrastructure and potentially move to cloud over time. Ping offers flexibility in what needs an organization wants to serve, so they may keep on-prem hardware for now and can choose to move to the cloud at a later time. The reality of this, guys, is that both of these companies have a purpose. Both of them have strengths and weaknesses, and both of them will probably be around for a long time. My guess is that Ping Identity is going to continue to evolve their offerings and compete more with Okta in the SaaS space. They're focused on those big enterprise systems that we talked about earlier that can't move everything to the cloud overnight. And my guess is that Ping Identity will probably grow with those companies. If a large healthcare organization with 200,000 employees is using Ping Identity, they have a relationship, they're probably going to be prone to keep that relationship in that trust and basically, morph as their business morphs. I feel that Ping Identity will morph with those companies and make sure that their services are up to par. So both of them are good if you're looking for, a true cloud play. I mean, Okta really is more of a cloud play. Ping Identity has some capabilities in cloud, but much better suited for an on-prem environment. So I hope this was helpful. There's a lot of acronyms and information. If you have any questions, drop me a question below in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Check out the Facebook group. Fired Up Wealth. Just go on Facebook, type in Fired Up Wealth. Check out the website, firedupwealth.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.